Hi, everybody, and welcome to Exegetically Speaking, a podcast of the friends and faculty of Wheaton College, Wheaton, Illinois, and the Lanier Theological Library in Houston, Texas. My name is David Capes, and I am the Senior Research Fellow at the Lanier Theological Library and a former dean up there in Wheaton at the School of Biblical and Theological Studies. Our purpose in these podcasts is really very simple. We want to promote the study of biblical languages, Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, so we can read the Bible more faithfully, study it more fully, and not just read it, but to live it. Joining me today on Exegetically Speaking is Dr. Beth Felker Jones. She was at Wheaton when I was there, so we had a chance to get to know each other a bit. We officed right next to each other, but now she's Professor of Theology at Northern Seminary. She's written a terrific book that I think, a lot of people should go out and buy right now, right this minute. Just put the phone down and go to Amazon. It's called Practicing Christian Doctrine. It's a big picture book by Baker. Baker Academic, is it, or Baker?
I should know the answer to that question.
It's Baker something.
Baker for sure.
Anyway, Dr. Beth Felker Jones. Beth, good to see you.
Glad to be with you, David.
Now, how did you get started reading biblical languages?
Yeah, so I think I'm probably, maybe my start isn't that different, but my level of expertise is different from a lot of your guests on Exegetically Speaking, in that I just have the barest kind of working knowledge here.
Well, you're not a biblical scholar.
Correct.
You're a
I'm
theologian.
not a biblical scholar. I'm a theologian.
Right. So there's a different, but even theologians need a little Greek or a little Hebrew, right?
A little bit,
Bit.
And maybe that's encouraging to people who think I'm never going to become a Hebrew expert, but might still be able to get the kind of knowledge that lets you do a little bit of work and help your theology, help your preaching, help your what have you. My junior year in college, I discerned a call to seminary. My chaplain wisely advised me to throw some Greek into my senior year of college. So I picked up Greek at the end of my undergrad time, 8 o'clock in the morning, my whole senior year. I would usually go in my pajamas, which was a thing people sort of did. And in that day, I don't know if that's done anymore, for some classical Greek. And that is essentially my formal Greek training, is just a year of college level Greek and then exegesis classes in seminary.
Did you take any Hebrew while you were in seminary?
I don't have any Hebrew. I wish I did, but none of us gets everything. So,
no, we don't get all the toys we wish, right? So for you, how have you sort of incorporated biblical languages in your work, or how has it affected your work, knowing some of that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways. The first is just the way that working in the Greek slows one down and helps one learn to pay attention to the text in ways that we might not do if we're just in our easy first language, right? So thinking of taking, Greek exegesis classes in New Testament in seminary, that experience of really slowing down and living with the text and seeing it in fresh ways that you might not see it if you were speeding through, if you weren't having to do the hard work of translation and so on, I think is really a valuable skill for thinking about reading scripture, even if you're reading in English or reading in your first language, to be slow and attentive.
Sometimes I like to take the freeway to get there in a hurry. Other times it's nice to take back roads.
Indeed, yeah.
To get to where you're going, because you see the world a little differently.
And our culture is less and less of a backroads culture, so I think those opportunities to slow down are really, really good, yeah. So the other way it helps me is kind of in the more obvious way, helping me develop insights into theology related to the text and to the history of theology. So I do some of the same things, but at a different level that, say, a New Testament scholar might do, paying attention to words, paying attention to things about context that you can pay better attention to if you're paying attention to the words. And I think theological points often hang on such things. So.
They have historically, haven't they? If you look at the history of the church, sometimes a word here or there really makes a big difference in how theology has developed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and that probably would be the same forever. So what would be your advice? There's a young lady out there who wants to be a theologian one day, and she hasn't gotten to college yet. What would your advice be about biblical languages, besides go to Wheaton College and learn?
It's a great place to learn biblical languages from great teachers. Yeah. I think just jump in. There can be something particularly intimidating about Greek and Hebrew. It seems scarier maybe than Spanish or some other languages that we are more likely to have in high school. But jumping in is fun and opens up insight in the text that you wouldn't get otherwise. So I'll always be grateful that I have my little bit of Greek.
One of the things you often hear is, "It's Greek to me," right? It's just that quotation, and I wish it had never been written, but, people come back with the expectation that Greek is a really difficult language. Indeed. Or Hebrew, either one.
But if you're taking a Greek class, you can use that as just a hilarious joke in all kinds of ways.
So many ways. Dr. Beth Felker Jones, thanks for being with us today on Exegetically Speaking. Thanks to Ian Rosine, Rebecca Larson, and Silvio Vasquez, who help us produce this podcast. Thanks as well to John Lansma, our Wheaton-based director, who makes this podcast possible. We're grateful to Phil Keggy for our music. If you want to study biblical languages, then you need to consider Wheaton College. Whether you're an undergraduate or a graduate student, we have amazing programs, a first-rate faculty, and some of the best students in the world. So go to the website, www.wheaton.edu, and look for modern and classical languages. Get started today. If you have questions about this or any of our podcasts, we'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions or questions about any passage in the Hebrew Bible or Greek New Testament, send us an email and we'll see if we can get one of our experts to weigh in on that for you. Our email is exegetically.speaking@wheaton.edu. That's exegetically.speaking@wheaton.edu. Thanks for listening.